Hello, hello, it's Pattyjo. How are you? Okay, we're going to do a couple more. I've been getting in my feed a lot about this woman who played hide and seek with her significant other. I think you know who I'm talking about. Apparently, now she has dismissed or ran off every single public defender. Uh, like she didn't even ask the last one to leave. Apparently, I don't know. I was kind of like getting ready for work and hearing it on the news clip I was listening to, and you guys will have to help me out because you know I don't have a television. I don't watch television. I don't stream anything. I really don't watch a lot of this. A lot of what comes through my feed is because I'm following the Darrell thing. So, all right. Let's see who is next on the. We haven't even gotten through the first group, I don't think. For here. These people. These poor people. I am cooking, so I'll have to break occasionally. So I'm going to leave the screen a little small. I hope you don't mind.
I think this should have never happened to it.
Oh my God. It's a child.
To get candy, and I said,
I think I got it.
I'm victim LLO, and on November 21st, 2021, me and my family's life changed forever. My brother and I were headed to parade. We've been scared of parades not letting us feel safe and comfortable, or even being able to run out into the road to fetch candy. For example, when I went to the Arrowhead Parade, all my friends were asking me why I didn't want to go out into the road to get candy, and I said, because of the WAUKESHA Parade. And I was mad because if the parade incident did not happen, I'd be able to go onto the road to enjoy something as simple as a parade. When I got to the parade with my friends, I constantly remember to not go out onto the road, to be better safe than sorry. It is the last thing I want to happen again. How could you do this? Think of your kids. Would you do this to them?
Yes.
I'm just a child with a lifetime left to live. I'm also here from my younger brother, victim KKK. When he was hit by the front of the car, he was traumatized forever. I feel his fear. I feel his pain, because when I was hit, I broke out into tears too. On the way to the hospital, we had to lay our head down on the floor because we heard there was a shooter. My fingers, my whole body was paralyzed in fear and fright. When we made it to the hospital, I was terrified because I thought I broke my fingers. And when they asked me what happened, I was too busy crying that I couldn't speak. I still think about this event to this day. A day after the parade, I couldn't even go to school because of what he did. All my friends were worried about me, texting me asking if I was even alive. Sometimes I even think of all the others that were hit and how they were in the hospital for longer than me, and how their parents were probably praying that their kids would be okay, and that this would be a once-in-a-lifetime happening. I think this should have never happened to us. The day I went back to school, everyone was asking me a million questions every time I was alone. Everyone was babying me, acting like one of my family members was killed. What makes it worse is that almost a year ago my dog died, and I have lived with it my whole life, so I was extra sad and upset. At that moment, I realized that our family had to find justice against the man who hit too many people and caused a nightmare on November 21st, 2021. I ask for this pain to never be caused again.
Thank you. Okay, wow. I'm going to take a bit. Oh, God, he just ruined it. This poor child, that couldn't have been more than a 5 or 6 year old or something, I'm thinking. How well said. But I hear how like layered and complex the pain was. Amazing. He is so gross. He is so disgusting. Ugh.
And I've been asked to
ruins
read a
everything.
statement by victim KKK.
I guess
When I got hit by the car that day, it hurt a lot. I got hit on my right leg, and it still kind of hurts now and then. That hit changed my life, and it still scares me sometimes when I think about it. I also feel bad for the families who lost someone and everyone who died and was in the parade. And then he drew a picture of a SUV, and it says car that hit me, and there's a little figure and candy bucket and bottle and me. So they handed that to me on behalf of victim KKK.
Your Honor, we need to take a break for a second, please. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
It's important. All right, thank you.
I'll do that.
Look at Dum-Dum, thinking it's still about him. That's what he thinks. He thinks this is still about him. Oh, Darrell, you're so dumb. Oh my God, okay. So they take a break, huh? I think I got the name. I think I got the name. Darrell. It's not about you, Darrell. It's not about you, Darrell. What well-spoken children. Better than what I could do. Okay. Quite a break.
Be seated. Madam Clerk, do you have the exactly? Okay. All right, thank you. Shortly before 10 a.m., there was an abrupt stop to the proceedings when I was asked by the sheriff to meet with him, and I was advised at that time that their communication center had received a threat to the courthouse. As everyone is well aware, it's now 11:14 a.m. The sheriff has assured me that this building is quite safe, very secure were his words, and that he has taken all reasonable measures to secure the courthouse. At this time, I am not going to stop these proceedings. We will continue, and I will rely on the Sheriff's Department and law enforcement personnel to advise if anything changes. I apologize for the abrupt disruption previously, but I'm confident that we can go forward at this time. I know when we took that break, right before that, Jen Dunn had been reading a statement from one of the juvenile victims, and there was a picture that was referenced. I would like to make a request for that picture to be made part of the record.
Thank you, Judge. We had anticipated that as well. We're prepared to display that at this time on the monitor.
And then will that be filed?
Yes, I can file that.
All right, go ahead.
So again, this is the note and drawing by victim KKK.
Can you tell me the age of KKK?
8 years old.
Thank you very much.
Let's just take a minute to look at this. There's the candy and he really put a lot of thought into this. How many people think that Darrell would have criticized the way he drew that? Because Darrell is more of a child than the 8-year-old. Yeah, totally. Car that hit me.
Were you completed with that statement, Ms. Dunn?
I am completed with victim KKK's statement, and you can now see the drawing that was made by that victim on the bottom of his statement.
Thank you very much.
Next, I do have the statement of the mother of victim KKK and LLL to read for the court. I am not sure how or where to begin to try and put into words how November 21st of 2021 has impacted my life or my family's life. That was a night that I pray I could forget, say it has not broken me, say that I am stronger than a single moment, and move beyond as if it never happened. But unfortunately, as much as I try, this is something that haunts me daily. Our lives forever changed that evening. Mr. Brooks took an evening that was supposed to be filled with excitement, love, and holiday spirit and turned it into a real-life nightmare. November 21st of 2021, I witnessed the most horrific event I could ever have imagined leaving my house that evening. My children at the time of the parade were 11, victim LLL, 9, victim KKK, and 6, innocent, full of life, love, compassion, and excitement for the holidays. That evening, Mr. Brooks stripped this from my children, leaving them physically hurt, scared, angry, confused, traumatized, and forever changed with the visions of what happened that night. I saw absolute fear and pain in my children's eyes they should never have had to experience in their entire life. I saw my daughter, victim LLL, lying in the road crying and yelling, "Who would do that?" I saw my son, victim KKK, flipped on his back, crying in pain, not being able to move or feel his legs. I remember knowing we weren't safe and needing to leave, telling my children to run as fast as they could, and pull or back to danger. I remember seeing parents laying on top of their children in fear and trying to protect them the best they could from what was happening. I remember sitting at every stoplight while driving my children to the hospital, trembling to the point the car was shaking. In complete fear, every car pulling up beside me was the person who hit my children. Yes, Mr. Brooks, I remember. I watched my son not be able to sit alone in a room for weeks. I watched my children not be able to sit still without being anxious and fidgeting for months. I watched my children wake up with nightmares to this day. I saw gut-wrenching guilt on my husband's face for feeling like he didn't protect his family. And to this day, I feel anger and hatred more than I realized I ever could for a person I have never even met. But aside from all of that, I am thankful. Thankful that by some miracle, my family and I walked away that evening. Although I could not attend most of the trial in person, I did view either via Zoom or on TV. I viewed everything from the pre-trial, jury selection, and trial itself, and I am disgusted that a grown man could act the way Mr. Brooks acted during all of this. Mr. Brooks claims he was raised a Christian and his mother raised him better than he was acting at the beginning of the trial, but Mr. Brooks continued to be rude, selfish, and disrespectful, from sleeping during court, endless interruptions and outbursts, rude comments, facial expressions, and lack of remorse for his actions and how he was treating everyone in court, from the prosecutors, victims, witnesses, and judge herself. I never thought Mr. Brooks could make myself or my family feel victimized all over again, but he did. I keep remembering how Mr. Brooks was upset the detective in the investigation asked to speak to one of his children. I asked myself, it's not okay to speak to his child, but it's okay to intentionally hit 2 of my children and drive away? That's okay? Why my children? Why any children? How could someone do this? How could someone have no compassion for the victims, the families? We deserve answers. Our children deserve answers, true and honest answers. Never once did I see true remorse for anyone but himself or his family during the trial. Mr. Brooks also stated something along the lines of, anyone who knows him or spends enough time with him knows he would never do something like that. But Mr. Brooks, you absolutely did. Mr. Brooks hit my children and so many more people and never once stopped. Not only did he kill, injure, and traumatize so many that night, he decided to victimize everyone again by forcing them to not only testify as to what happened because he felt compelled to plead not guilty, but he also forced these victims and family members, including my husband, to face the monster that did this and answer the questions he felt the need to ask. How can someone face each person on the stand, knowing what was done that night, question them as if they were the ones on trial when all of the victims and witnesses were doing that night were creating memories? Unfortunately, memories were created, but not the memories I planned to have with my children. Instead, the fear I have seeing a maroon SUV driving towards myself or my family is now paralyzing.
Okay.
Seeing a vehicle drive too fast down any street makes me physically sick to my stomach. My children panic at the sight of an emergency vehicle. Seeing people run and yell unexpectedly, even if just for fun, makes my heart drop, and my mind brings me back to the night of the parade, hearing the screams, yells for help, and cries from that night will haunt me until the day I die. Those are the memories I have from the night. The only good that has come from this is Mr. Brooks will never be able to hurt another person outside of prison ever again. The guilty verdict and hopefully life plus sentence will protect anyone that may have been hurt by Mr. Brooks in the future, and that I can be thankful for. Please, on behalf of myself and my family, we ask Mr. Brooks to be sentenced to the fullest extent. Mother of victim KKK and LLL. Next to speak will be victim S.
Go ahead, Mr. Brooks.
I'm taking some notes, and I was wondering, it was a little confliction there. Is victim KKK 8 or 9?
Who cares?
I can't answer that, sir, but that was a written statement read from the mother of victim KKK.
I apologize, Your Honor. I was just taking notes.
Why?
Right, go ahead.
Because maybe you didn't hit him if they didn't get the right age. Ugh. Dirtbag.
My name's Kelly Greo, and I was walking in the Christmas parade with my daughter, Adelia, on the 21st. I'm not one for public speaking, obviously. I'm very nervous. But I was given a chance to be the voice for my daughter, and I. That is what fueled me to stand here today. Now I can only tell you our story, but I believe the tragic events of that day have affected many of us in a similar manner. I can honestly say I have never felt the hatred I do for one person like I do this man. The very man that drove his vehicle into my 9-year-old baby girl, who was excitedly walking in the Christmas parade. She was so excited to dress up that day as Cindy Lou Who. We spent weeks figuring out her costume, and picking her hairstyle. She was excited to have her hair and makeup done and to help spread holiday cheer, to see her friends and her family that were there to be spectators at the parade that became witnesses to this horrible act themselves. So many lives were changed that day. Although many of us, for the most part, have healed physically, emotionally, many of us have been scarred. I have questioned whether those emotional scars will ever truly go away, remembering the roller coaster of emotions that day. And after being struck myself, lying on the ground and seeing the tires pass directly in front of my face and just waiting for the pain to begin. Being filled with absolute fear of not knowing where my daughter Adelia was, or if she was okay, then running only to find her the way I did, the way so many of us found our loved ones that day, lying helpless on the cold, hard ground. My knees buckled the minute I got to her. Seeing my child that this so-called sorry excuse for a man ran a 3,000-pound SUV into her tiny little body. There are so many times when I close my eyes, I still see my baby girl laying in the street helpless, not moving, just staring in complete shock, not even recognizing her own grandparents when they came to her side. Seeing that look in her eyes will forever be embedded in my mind. As a parent, We are supposed to be able to protect our children, and that day many of us were reminded of the ugly in this world, that no matter what we do, there will always be monsters like Darrell Brooks that are lurking around corners, just waiting for a chance to play those parts in our nightmares. Yet even after causing this much pain and destruction, he wasn't even happy with that. He didn't stop there. He took it upon himself to be his own representation, knowing full well he would be given the chance to question us as victims and rip open the wounds once again and show no remorse. I can tell you, sitting on the stand that day, reliving the horrific events, having him look in my direction brought up so many memories and emotions of that night. Hearing his voice made me cringe with disgust and anger. He changed our Adelia that day. He stole her innocent, happy look on life and replaced it with fear and hate that no child at the now age of 10 should ever feel. Although those feelings are warranted, she was forced that day to see the ugly in this world also, and her joyous outlook on the holiday season was stolen. I'm not sure if she will ever again attend another parade, let alone a Christmas parade. I don't know when the unexplained loud noises will ever not take me back to that day and make me jump, make my heart rate increase. However, I do know every day is a new chance. We have to take back our lives and give this man no more than he has already taken. We are now stronger than we ever imagined we would have to be as a family and as a community, and that he cannot have. He does not deserve that. What Darrell Brooks does, however, deserve is to be sentenced to the maximum time allotted for each one of his horrific convictions, as he has given us as a community a life sentence of these memories. Thank you.
Okay, so Cindy Lou Goodwin. Her mom is still angry. Can see why. You know what finger I want to put up. What is this? Hurry up, are we keeping you from something?
Christy, you can grab the first one.
Madam Clerk, we need to display, please. Thank you.
You have it up on your screen, it's just not showing up on ours. You just,
We'll just start with technical difficulties.
Your Honor, we did swap out computers because we didn't have a power cord, but no, that one won't. Miss Gussie's gonna run and grab the power cord and then it should work.
Okay.
There's a change between what we were using earlier and that's why probably it's not recognizing the computer.
I apologize for the technical difficulties, Your Honor.
Okay. Simply wait for the technology, but we will do that if you want to wait.
We'd like to wait if that's all right.
No problem. You may have something. Is that it?
That is it.
Can you see?
Yeah.
Do you have more than that?
Yes.
You may need Miss Gussie back for that.
Just hit, it's PowerPoint, so just hit enter.
Thank you.
Looking back over the last 358 days, some days are a complete blur.
Will you stand or turn the microphone closer to you? Your name.
Oh, sorry. Katie Pudliner, mother of Tyler Pudliner.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Looking back over the last 358 days, some days are a complete blur, others are vivid as yesterday. At 4:39 p.m. on 11/21/21 changed my life, my sons, my family, my friends, and the WAUKESHA community. During the closing arguments, the defendant spoke of family. His grandmother released her statement to the media speaking of family. Through the past 358 days, we have heard from the Brooks family that the defendant has a mental illness as a reason for his decisions that evening, except the decision making goes back further than that. It seems the decision was made not to get help, not to stay medicated, etc., instead to use it as an excuse for poor, selfish decisions. My family almost lost the only son, the only grandson, the only nephew, and that was not our decision. As a parent, I have carried the guilt that I debated with my son that he had to go to the parade that day. It was mandatory for his grade. The Packers were playing. It was cold and windy. I had to use a life teaching moment. He made a commitment to the band. This was all part of it. He left reluctantly. I talked to him shortly after I found a parking spot downtown to make sure he was warm enough and told him the general area where I was going to look for a spot to watch the band perform. From 4:33 to 4:34 p.m., I watched the South Band march and perform in front of me. As I was packing up my blankets and chair into the wagon, I noticed what I thought was between a 2008 to 2012 maroon red Ford Escape driving extremely fast past me. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I remember making the mental notes about the vehicle, the driver. Turned to a friend sitting with me, and we were both in awe. Then we heard the screams and the sounds of things being hit, like when you bump into a construction barrel on the freeway. From 4:46 to 4:58 was complete chaos. Fighting the crowd of people running out of the area screaming shots fired, trying to find my son. As I approached the intersection of Main Street and Barstow, the area went completely dark, maybe only in my mind. As I searched for my son, asking people if they knew where he was. A familiar voice behind me said, "He's over here." I turned to see him laying in the street with his feet pointing north.
First, enter your PIN to unlock the device.
Apologies. We had no idea what had happened, only that he was tasting blood and that his stomach hurt. Soon EMTs were there, and we went for a run up and down Main Street as he was being helped before they had a true plan where they were going to stage the injured. He was taken off the gurney and placed in the street to await an ambulance.
Wow.
This is where we met our first hero of the journey. A complete stranger came to sit with us and help roll my son while he was vomiting blood from his injuries, helped to keep him calm and comfort his fears. That was the 18 minutes that felt like an hour. I remember looking around as I waited Not too far in front of me was a very young officer with his rifle standing guard. To my left were two brothers that we had known from the band and baseball. One lying on the street, clearly injured, the other standing by. I felt completely helpless as I wanted to go and help them. But I couldn't leave my son injured. They say everything happens for a reason, something I have firmly believed. At 5:16 p.m., we were loaded into the ambulance, as I refer to it as the little ambulance that could. While in the middle of everything, it had a coolant leak.
Oh.
The smell of antifreeze will trigger me forever. We made it out to Oconomowoc, and I learned after that it made another run after that before it died.
They just kept pushing that thing.
While my son was whisked away to emergency surgery, I had to start making phone calls, returning text messages, figuring out what was next. Will he make it through surgery? How bad were his injuries? After 6 days at the hospital, we were sent home. My athletic son couldn't lift our cats, pour a glass of milk, put his socks and shoes on. He has a scar almost 2 foot long. And as a catcher, he questioned his ability to be able to play the sport he loves, the sport that he eats, breathes, and sleeps. After missing school and work for almost 2 months, we were able to start to get back and work up to a full-time basis over the course of a month. One lingering injury brought questions if he could play ball for what would be the first full season of his high school career. COVID had canceled and shortened the prior two. April 6th, he took to the field with that bandmate that was lying in the street just a few feet from us just 3 months earlier. As we tried to find a sense of normal in between doctor's appointments and procedures. Next one, please. Through the process and the journey of the judicial system, we have found a new family, one that can relate to the horror, the fear, the trauma of that night, changing our lives forever. The criminal complaint had listed 62 named victims, now survivors, 6 that gained their wings. What it did not include were the 16 jurors that had also become victims of the defendant's actions that night, while the named victims, their families and friends had to relive that night they were experiencing firsthand. Mrs. Edwards' statement asked that we forgive her grandson, blaming the mental illness, not encouraging him to take ownership for his actions. She said that she lost a grandson, his mother lost a son, his children lost a father. That isn't completely a true statement, as they will be able to talk to him, send him letters, visit him, hopefully in a maximum security prison. They seem to forget there is a mother that can't kiss her son goodnight, a father that can't play ball with his son, a brother that can't fight with his brother and still be his best friend. There are 3 children that can't call their mother for advice, go shopping, plan their weddings, or have them watch over them as they reach for their dreams. There are numerous grandchildren that won't get to go to grandma's anymore, get spoiled and sent home, hyped on sugar and love. There are teenagers that had to grow up way too quickly, having to make adult decisions about their future. There are girls that may never dance again without fear, their innocence taken away by a selfish decision. There is a grandfather that cannot tell the family stories anymore. He can't watch his wife dance. These families will forever be missing their loved ones. They can't call them, write a letter, or visit them. Nothing will bring back the son, the mom, the daughter, the grandma, and the grandfather to these families. Nothing can restore the innocence lost to ease their fear. But this community came together to lift up each other up, support each other, looked after those that were in their worst moments, celebrated the wins along the way, returning to the dance floor, dancing in the streets, and playing baseball. The prosecution team did an amazing job representing everyone of the plaintiffs in this case. Thank you. The victim witness team was so caring and diligent in keeping us informed, being whenever there was a question that came up. Pepper, who greeted us every time we came to the courthouse, she put a smile on everyone's face, brought a little humor or a caring snuggle. You can do the last one, Tom. Your Honor, you are the standard that should be set across the country. Your patience, your diligence will never be forgotten. From the selfish actions of one person from one selfish actions of one person came a community rising like a phoenix, stronger than ever, stronger together. I ask that you hand down the maximum possible sentence without parole in prison so that everyone in our WAUKESHA strong community can heal, remember, grow, and never have to look back.
It's a separate PowerPoint.
It's, yeah, if you just...
Here's Chris.
I'm Tyler Pudliner, victim O. Your Honor, I appreciate the opportunity to speak today and share my impact statement with the court. It has been a long time coming, but I cannot thank the courts enough for giving not only myself, but all of us who have been affected the opportunity to share our stories. First, I would like to start off with you, Judge Darrell. Thank you, Your Honor. We have all been going through these proceedings for almost a year now, and it is almost hard to believe that this is the first time that we've gotten the opportunity to communicate with you directly. I understand now that this is how the process takes place. Now, since the beginning of these proceedings, I've obviously gone through a lot of emotions as having been a victim and survivor in this case. I hate to say it like this, but it seems that for a greater portion of the year, and especially throughout the most recent proceedings, and my mother can confirm this, I've been somewhat angry towards you, Judge Darrell. And I would now like to apologize for that. Maybe it's because I either did not understand or did not want to become aware of how lengthy the process was. There have been multiple occasions where I have gotten very mad or annoyed due to your rulings that either didn't go the prosecution's way or that I personally felt shouldn't have been made. Obviously, there were also multiple occasions where these disruptions that would continuously be made by the defendant would take up way too much time and cause way too many delays throughout the trial portion of these proceedings. It would stress all of us out more than we should have ever been, to say the least. I would keep asking my mother, other families involved, the prosecution, and victim witness teams, why can't Judge Darrell do more to stop the disruptions? Why did she let that one testimony go on for way longer than it should have? But in all thanks to those amazing people sitting behind me, I was able to get the clarification and understanding that I need to calm down and help me understand that we were making steps forward in the process. And that we were going to finally arrive at the finish line as winners. That's why I wanted to start off by thanking you first today, Judge Darrell. I am very glad that we have finally arrived at this point in the process where I can say that you did an amazing job throughout the entire process. You have not only shown myself, or just the court, but an entire nation and world, for that matter, that you conducted these proceedings with the utmost respect and decorum to all of the parties involved. Lastly, Your Honor, I want to acknowledge your sainthood. Your devotion to this trial can never be matched. Your fair rulings, passion for this case, and kindness to everyone is more than everyone could have asked for, and for that, I again thank you. You have truly become like a mother and a true hero to this community, and for that we appreciate you, Judge Darrell. I would also like to thank this amazing prosecution team, Sue, Leslie, Zach, Tom, Christy, and Ryan. You guys have been the glue that has held us together throughout this entire process over the past year. You've all taken extra time out of your day to stay late and either be able to answer all of our questions or just talk and reassure us that even though with all those sleepless nights and countless hours of delay, we would be okay. I can confidently say that I don't think there could have been a better team put together to represent us as the plaintiffs in this matter. Just like Judge Darrell, all of you have shown the passion, blood, sweat, and tears and extraordinary effort that has been poured into this case to give us the justice that many have desired and deserve. Consider yourselves true heroes to this community as well. I would also like to highlight Jen and her extraordinary team at Victim Witness Assistance. Again, a group of truly amazing people that I can't say enough words about to describe their amazing work. If we needed a shoulder to cry on, they were there. If we needed to make that late night phone call to get the answers we desired, they answered. We can truly not thank you guys enough for all your hard work and unmeasurable amount of effort that you gave us during this case to our families. And you cannot forget about personally my favorite employee in the entire courthouse, Pepper. You know how they say a dog is a man's best friend? Well, Pepper is an entire community's best friend. I personally, and I'm sure that I could speak for all of us when I say this, could not be more thankful for all the donations that have been made, or have made Pepper possible. Jen and her staff have done an amazing job keeping her in line while she did what any dog does best. Gives us so much unconditional love that for a split second, you feel like all the problems are gone. Once again, I cannot thank everyone who represented us as the state of Wisconsin. You guys did one hell of a job throughout this process and have truly become a special part of this group. Finally, I want to take the time to describe how the events that occurred on November 21st, 2021 have affected my family and myself. No one thinks that something like those horrendous acts committed by the defendant on 11/20/21 will ever happen to you. Christy, if you could please. I want you to look at that, Mr. Brooks. That's what you did to me that night. That's us in the ER, waiting.
Oh.
I remember bits and pieces, but that is what happened. If you could go on to the next slide, please, Christy. Throughout the past year, I have become very close to other families involved in this matter. All the pictures there have what kept me going. The sport of baseball and all the other families affected in that community. I've gained more little brothers than I can say, and an entire new baseball team to live out the rest of this life with. Next slide, please. I've also met so many new friends post 11/20/21. A new grandmother to add to such a wonderful family, another new brother in that instance, that have just helped me get through everything. And it's kept us stronger through the whole process. Next slide, please, Christy. I've also gotten to become closer to other groups that were affected. Last Saturday, I marched with the Milwaukee Dancing Grannies in their Christmas parade. Veterans Day parade, yeah, my bad, sorry. Coming together with other groups like this is something that has, again, shown that we are very strong. We are stronger than the defendant, and we are an entire community that has shown that strength. These memories are what have kept us going and will forever keep us going in this process. Next slide, please, Christy. As I stated before, baseball is a sport that has specifically kept me going. Wrestling is another love. I've gotten to meet some very cool wrestlers, Braun Strowman to name a few, and Ric Flair. A race car driver, a local race car driver that I pit for at Slinger Speedway, has basically been another grandfather throughout this entire process. He spent every day with us at the hospital for the week I was hospitalized, except Thanksgiving. I've gained another brother who's pictured there at that wrestling event with another part of my truly amazing and big family that I've gained out of this. Christian Yelich, a Brewer, and my favorite player and now manager of the Brewers, Craig Counsell. If you go to the next slide, please. Finally, this right here, this is me and my buddy Eric. We were both affected that day, and we made the return within 3 months of everything happening to come back and play the sport that we love. We did not stay down, we did not cry, didn't let it get to us. We came back stronger than ever. Yeah, we might have lost, but we played hard and truly showed this entire community that we are stronger together, and we are stronger than you. I just want to also address one more thing to Mr. Brooks. These are 2 quotes that have gotten me through this entire process. You can mark it down in your Bible if you want for this one. It's Romans 12:21. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. The second one, also to go with his grandmother's statement. I picked it up from the book and movie The Shack, written by William P. Young. The quote is, "Forgiveness in no way requires that you trust the one you forgive. Forgiveness is not about forgetting. It is about letting go of another person's throat." And I do want to acknowledge that I am letting go of your throat, Mr. Brooks, but I have not forgiven you. Thank you, Your Honor, for the chance to speak today.
Thank you to both of you.
Wow. Okay, I think that's enough for right now. People don't like too long videos. I think everybody was very well spoken. I'm about ready to go break down somewhere. My best wishes go out to them as they live out their summer now, hopefully putting this much further behind them. Thanks for joining. Like, comment, and subscribe if you wish. And next time, bye-bye.